Hey, I kind of want to talk a little bit about No Nut November and its origins. I'm going to keep this video relatively clean, but let's go over a few things before we start. One, I am not a researcher, so all this is based off of my own personal observations. And secondly, this is nothing new. In America alone, the idea that masturbation is a sin is the reason why cereal and graham crackers exist, and the reason why most American men are circumcised, and you can find proof of those things. When I was in high school in the late 2000s and early 2010s, there was a trend on 4chan of men foregoing masturbation as a method of increasing the likelihood of them having a wet dream. Because it's 4chan and there are a lot of very lonely and horny men on that site. Now, an interesting thing happened because outside of the people who just learned a fun new way to be horny or gave up after a few days, some men started having their lives genuinely improve. Now, the reason why some of these men's lives were improving was most likely because they had some sort of porn or sex addiction that was finally getting treated by them abstaining from these things. And I want to say to that I don't think sex and porn addiction exists in the way that a lot of people in this country might talk about it. I do think sex and porn can be addicting, but I think anything can be addicting. Look at the show My Strange Addiction for further proof of what I'm talking about here. Now, there are religious communities, though, in this country that do think masturbation is a sin and will sort of build science around that. There are a lot of studies talking about the dangers of pornography and sex, and they are largely funded by people like the Mormon Church, who I can at least say don't have an unbiased view of the matter, since they are generally going to lean towards the idea that sex and masturbation is going to be a sin outside of procreation. But because 4chan is filled with a bunch of very lonely and horny men who tend to lean right-wing, a lot of them, when their lives started improving after stopping masturbation, decided that was proof that sex and pornography is evil and kind of ran with it. And with the rise of No Nut November, you started seeing the rise of people talking about things like semen retention and also kind of basing a lot of things off of the episode of Seinfeld where George Costanza stops masturbating and having sex, and his brain power increases, which was a joke on that show, but people started to take it seriously. And there were people who were bringing this up largely as a meme at first, but sometimes when you bring up a joke like that, it eventually becomes serious just from the nature of we've all done that thing where we've started saying something ironically and then stopped saying it ironically at a point and just started saying it genuinely. And I bring this up both to kind of talk about the origins of No Nut November, which I find a little bit interesting, but to kind of show how if you kind of are in an isolated area and get bad information, it can lead to some interesting conclusions and spread out.